At Watch Preserve, we strongly believe that watches do more than tell time. They're time capsules, carrying the stories from one generation to the other. A few weeks back, Howard Peick and his wife Melissa came into our store carrying a small white-laced bag. Inside, his father's 5513 Submariner. Missing its bezel and covered in scratches, we knew this watch had an interesting story. What began as a simple request to find a bezel for this watch soon turned into something much more. Born in 1947, James W. Peick grew up in St. Croix County, Wisconsin, and parts of eastern Minnesota. With a youth spent around the natural beauty of the Great Lakes, a love for the outdoors must have been natural for James. In 1966, he learned to scuba dive from none other than Midwest diving legend Jack the Frogman. Jack was an early adopter of scuba in the States, piecing together his own regulators from Army surplus parts, and he was one of the founding members of PADI. James kept nearly all his diving class notes, manuals, and many photos of his 1966 class. After finishing his training, he even mapped out his local lake in St. Croix County. However, sunny summers in the Great Lakes soon came to an end as the shadow of war loomed large on the horizon. In 1966, the war in Vietnam was in full swing. After American troops first landed at Da Nang in 1965, more than 384,000 young men went to fight in the conflict. James was among those who went overseas in 1966, serving in the Army Signal Corps, but he was soon transferred to Germany. Howard suspects that his dad's Submariner was purchased overseas, likely toward the end of his time in Vietnam. In 1969, James returned stateside to live in Pensacola, Florida, and it didn't take long for him to get back in the water. After earning a renewed certification from PADI in 1970, James continued to dive in the Great Lakes region and in Florida. According to James, he and his buddy were spearfishing when a rogue barracuda, attracted by his shiny watch, took a bite at his wrist, causing the bracelet to release during the scuffle. Although they supposedly speared the offending fish and recovered the Rolex, the bezel was lost to the deep. At the time, James showed no interest in fixing his Rolex, saying it would cost more to fix it than he originally paid for it. And so his 5513 went into a drawer, where it sat untouched until 2024, when after a long legal battle over his father's will, Howard finally took possession of his dad's watch. James passed away in July of 2023. While this watch won't ever dive again, the memories of Howard's father and a life fully lived are perfectly wrapped up in its steel case. We've put a new correct bezel on the watch to restore it to how it may have looked while James was wearing it, but the scratches and wear remain intact to honor the life of Howard's dad. Every scratch on this watch tells a story. And who knows, maybe some of those scratches are even from barracuda teeth.